Main event for the lightweight title, Islam Makhachev defends his title successfully against Volkanovski, wins by unanimous decision, 48-47 on two judges' scorecards, 49-46 on the third. And Tom, the simple question is, how did you score this fight?
Well, I usually, as a dedicated professional, honing my craft, will take meticulous notes when watching these big events. I couldn't do it, Joe. I had to glue 100% into the fight. It was just too good to ignore. So pen and paper went down pretty fast. I think we got about 1 minute in. So I was just kind of scoring blind on feeling.
Yeah.
And I scored the match on first viewing as follows.
Yeah.
48-47 for Islam Makhachev.
Okie doke. That's very interesting. First time I watched it, I scored it 48-47 for Alexander Volkanovski, is how I scored it. However, I scored it for him, and I'm like, he's definitely not won. He's not won this. The judges aren't going to give it to him. Like, that was my thinking. And it wasn't in the sense of this is a robbery. It was in the sense of this was so close and so good that, like, you can literally score it either way, 48-47, and not be disappointed, I don't think. I could squint a little bit and say 49-46 Makhachev. Absolutely no way I could give 4 rounds to Volkanovski.
Well, my eyebrows are raised, Joe. I think we better get into it round by round because I'm not seeing a 49-46.
So you watched it the second time and you scored it the second time?
Well, we'll get into that. Let's start off with the first round. Don't think there's going to be too much debate about that one.
There are certain rounds that I think are pretty set. Can I just put that out there? And I think it's rounds 1, 4, and 5 are the rounds where there's not really much debate about who won them.
We will be talking about one of those rounds in a bit more detail later on.
Okay, I know which one. Anyway, round 1, let's go through it.
Yeah, round 1. So they open up. A lot of feinting on both sides. Definitely a feeling out process. Any smart observer would recognise that was going to be the case.
Yeah.
Islam showing his patience, waiting for his opening, and then when they're trading, Volkanovski's blitzed in. They're kind of in the pocket, and Makhachev drops him. That sets off a chain of events where...
He didn't drop Volkanovski, he rocked him slightly, didn't he?
He dropped to his knee, Joe. Now,
okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I saw it. Well, I don't think it was scored as a knockdown.
No.
I don't understand that. He dropped him. His knee hit the mat from a
strike. In boxing terms, you would say that's it, but we're not in boxing, so maybe they don't classify it as a drop.
No, perhaps not. But he doesn't need that to tie the round up anyway, because from that position, he's able to get into the clinch and set off a very interesting sequence of events, which we will see later on through the fight. So I was listening to Jack Slack, the oracle that he is, and he highlighted this. Once Makhachev has his arms locked and he's taken Volkanovski's back in the clinch position against the cage, Volk turns head into the cage, arse out to the center of the octagon, thus preventing Makhachev from rocking him backwards and forwards before eventually collapsing him under his own legs to get the takedown against the fence.
Interesting.
So what I'm saying is Volk is protected against that because his front is covered by the cage, leaving Makhachev with the only option to pull him backwards, pull him onto him, and then get on top get the back in the scramble after that.
Basically create a misdirection by pulling him in. But then also, I guess if Volkanovski's aware of him doing that, he can then just move to a certain way as he's being pulled in, meaning that Makhachev can only go one way.
Yeah, so Makhachev basically has to pull Volkanovski back onto him, and then he's risking a lot there in the scramble that follows.
Yeah.
Volkanovski's got that dominant position for a moment. He might be able to turn into Makhachev and thus reverse the position. So very smart game planning from the Volkanovski corner. Makhachev was able to keep control of the back, and the round ended as such with Makhachev in the dominant position. Am I right? This is a 10-9 for Islam Makhachev.
I agree. That's a 10-9 Makhachev. I think there was that interesting moment where it looked like Volkanovski had charged through Makhachev and sort of dropped him, but in reality it just sort of like almost like bundled him over. Like it was like, I'm going for a shot. I'm like, oh, it's not really landing. I'll just sort of push you over a little bit because Makhachev's retreating. That was the thing also, Okay, we'll save it for the end, but basically I think both these guys highlighted that they're a lot stronger in their supposed weak areas than people presumed.
Yeah, I don't think you're giving a big spoiler there, Joe. That's something we definitely learned. Makhachev's stand-up deserves some respect.
Yes.
And Volkanovski can handle himself under pressure on the mat. So we move on to
round two.
Yeah, round two. Volkanovski undeterred. Now, that was one thing that ended round one. He had that cheeky little gremlin grin on his face when Makhachev had his back. That's another theme we'll return to later on in the fight. Loved it, by the way. Absolutely loved it. There was one other thing from that first round that caught me up. Did you hear what the crowd were chanting?
Islam is a wanker, right? Am I wrong?
Joe, I'm sorry, it got me. That
yeah, it was funny.
I thought that was hilarious. Anyway,
I mean,
as you say,
could be ripped out of context, that one, couldn't it? But
certainly could. I think it's distasteful in certain circles for sure. We probably shouldn't dwell on it because we do want to be released to the masses.
Yes, let's move on. Round two.
Volk straight away gets on the front foot. And, he's pushing Makhachev, let's be honest. To me, he was leading the dance there in that second round. I'm glancing over to my notes now. Of course, then it was Makhachev landing that one left hook again towards the middle of the round, which wobbled Volk.
Yeah.
Commentary team made big play of that. What did you think?
I think it's interesting in that the guys that have rocked Volkanovski before this were Max Holloway in the second fight in their trilogy and Chad Mendes. Holloway obviously gets that credit because of his striking credentials and how he game planned for that second fight and how impressive that was. And Mendes obviously gets that because of his just raw athletic power that he has. Whereas Makhachev, as was stated before, if this fight's on the feet, Makhachev's losing. And then when Makhachev does that, it's kind of this, well, maybe not. Maybe if this stays on the feet, it's not as clear-cut as Volkanovski wins. But anyway, he rocked Volkanovski. But then I had it as like Volkanovski sort of embraced this challenge of like, I've got to win the round back from him, and proceeded to just like output Makhachev. I mean, the output was very low for this fight. Let's also put that out there. This is Volkanovski's like lowest output in quite a while. But that second round, he really just tried to kick it up a notch. It's his highest output other than the fifth was the second round.
Well, part of that was, as you say, reasserting himself into the round after being wobbled. Got straight back on the front foot. Makhachev had a few moments where he was stalking Volk a little bit, but sure enough, Volkanovski. Yeah. He returned to trend, ended the round with Makhachev pressed up against the cage, kind of working a bit of a tie clinch, but really I had Volk getting more shots off and in the dominant position.
Yeah, rode the round out, basically.
I gave the round to Volkanovski.
Yeah, for sure. It guaranteed the round for him as well. Third round, I thought was really interesting because this was when Volkanovski actually started to implement more the game plan we talked about pre-fight, which is when is he going to start digging to the body? When is he going to start doing that? And in the first round or two, he threw a couple body jabs from quite far out, more just sort of like test him just to let Makhachev know I can get there. But the second round is when he really dug to the body there.
Well, let's just highlight the key weapon for Volkanovski in the early going, and it was that kind of blitz, switching stances, left hook, right straight, in the pocket as he comes in towards Makhachev. Makhachev was doing a good job countering that with that left hook, stepping off the line, creating that space, and as we saw that hurt Volk. But as you say, we got to see a bit more body work from Volkanovski coming into the third.
Winning the clinch exchange as well with those shots. Makhachev, though, he was landing some really nice kicks, I thought. Some really nice kicks in that round.
The teep up the middle.
Yeah.
To the body.
Yeah, very impressive. So, round 3 for Volkanovski for you.
Yeah, I had Volk on both first and second viewing.
Okay, so currently we both have it 2-1 Volk going into the fourth. Fourth round, Makhachev here. Oh my word! Finally got the timing on Volkanovski. Takes him down. Beautiful takedown. Controls the back. Not a lot of output. And then I'm thinking, has Volkanovski nicked this round with the rabbit punches? For me, absolutely not. I just think that control period gave it to Makhachev for me. Tom, please tell me you have not given it to Volkanovski based off of those punches.
I think it's worth a discussion. Let's put it that way, Joe. So, do you have the stats in front of you? How much control time was it for Makhachev? How long did he have that back for?
He had, in round 4, 3 minutes 25.
Yeah, pretty substantial.
And of
pretty substantial.
Significant strikes, Makhachev landed 4 to Volkanovski's 6. Total strikes, though, was Makhachev 19, Volkanovski 49. It's not significant work. I'm sorry. Like, I can't. It doesn't override the control and the takedown for me.
No. First time I watched it, I had to give it to Makhachev. Of course, we were talking about it. Volkanovski was amazing, let me just say, in that position. Just a angry little man, Joe.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Oh, dogged. That was the thing about this fight for Volk, was that, like, he is so dogged, like, as a competitor. Like, he just refuses to wilt. He refuses to give in to people.
I mean, Joe, that was his reputation before the fight. I don't even have the vocabulary to describe the animal. That I saw in this fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I'm tearing up. For me, it was an absolute amazing human feat of, like, willpower, endurance, discipline, will to win.
I've also got to shout him out for this as well. This is a little bit of a Volkanovski love-in for obvious reasons, but we will be praising Makhachev in a moment. But at the round 4, going into round 5, in the corner, I was actually really blown away by Volkanovski and his conversation with his coaches. That he was really aware of what they were saying and was responding and conversing with them. Like, Eugene Behrman gave him an instruction, and Volkanovski wasn't sure what he meant. He said, like, wait, hold on, do you want me to do that off the 2? Saying off the 1-2 combo, off the straight. And he's just like, yeah. He's just like, okay, I've got it clear in my mind. I've got a clear game plan. And I really was kind of super impressed by that. I mean, maybe I'm being blown away by something that's quite simple, but, like, how many times, and we've seen it on this card as well, guys that are just dying in between rounds that can barely listen to anything. And, like, Volkanovski having
shout out Jimmy Crute, Alonso Medical. My God.
By God, indeed.
Very different type of fight. No, I think you're right to praise Volkanovski for that. He was so alert, Joe, and, no spoilers, end of the 5th round, Volkanovski barely looked like he'd been in a fight. He wasn't even, his chest was barely moving. I mean, I bet his pulse hadn't gone above about 30. I mean, it was outrageous, terrifying.
Yeah, really. Well, he dropped Makhachev.
We moved into the 5th now.
We moved into the 5th.
So, I had to give Makhachev those rounds. That 4th round.
Yeah.
No comment on the 5th. I had to give Makhachev that 4th round. But I do think there's a conversation there. Volkanovski got more damage off in the round.
It's not damage. That's not damage.
I'm going to ask Volkanovski to go around to your house and rabbit punch you in the head 49 times. And I want you to come on for the listeners.
I'll tell you what.
We'll put a screenshot of your face.
Hold on. In that
no
position.
Damage.
In that position where I'm on his back, controlling him from the back, and he's going like that from over the top. I could do that. I could eat that for lunch.
In that position, Joe, let me tell you right now, I'm calling the coroner. and I'm getting the service ready. R.I.P. Joe.
No,
because Volkanovski would explode out and ruin you.
Yeah, but hold on. We're talking about... Yeah, but he didn't explode out. Makhachev still controlled him. He still had the dominant position. I'm sorry, man. Like, if Tyler Santos didn't win that round against Shevchenko doing the same thing, then Volkanovski doesn't win this round. Right. Doing less of that against Makhachev, who is in a more dominant position.
Agreed. Okay. Makhachev won the round. But what positions are considered dominant enough that you can just lay control without any damage? Is it just when you take the back?
On the back is...
A half guard, you're getting like elbowed and punched from the bottom. You're not getting anything.
We'll
off.
talk about Yair Rodriguez. In a moment.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
But he didn't do that though. All we can talk about is what we have, which is Makhachev controlled the back. Significant strikes between the two is pretty minimal.
He didn't even threaten a sub, Joe.
Yeah, but how much of that is Volk's defense? But then also we don't score defense.
Volk was too busy punching him in the face.
No.
Pulling faces
no. You can't give a guy a round for that from that position.
I'm not giving him the round. Makhachev won the round. We move into the fifth.
Yeah. Makhachev goes for the takedown again that he landed in the fourth, but instead he is met by a massive shot from Volkanovski. It was a big right hand that I got it. Is it a right hand that he rocked him with just off the temple? And then crowd exploded. Volkanovski gets on top. Makhachev rode out the rest of the fighting guard as Volkanovski then did his classic thing of, I'm in his guard, I'm going to plant my feet, I'm going to get over him, and unload the ground and pound on him. He was doing ground and pound to a Dagestani champion.
Joe, he wasn't just doing ground and pound. He was postured up. Wailing down on him. Some great screenshots of Makhachev looking off into the distance.
Yeah, like,
gasping, bloody.
Get me out of here.
Well, get me out of here. Who is this little terror? You know? Truly ferocious stuff from Volkanovski. And if we had a couple more rounds, I think we know how this is ending.
Yeah.
Volkanovski just wins all the plaudits. You give him that fifth round.
It's weird, isn't it, that, you know, a lot of people think Volkanovski won the fight. I don't think it's a robbery for Makhachev to win this. I think rounds 2 and 3 are close enough where I can see arguments either way. But could you now say that Makhachev is pound for pound the best fighter in the world? After this fight?
This is where I have to come in and say how I changed my scoring on the second viewing.
Really?
Yes. Second viewing, I scored it 48-47, Alexander Volkanovski.
Yeah, rounds 2, 3, and 5 for Volk.
Yeah.
Right.